like swaps. Andy, you come like piece of video for you.
Woo! No bother me there. They were real puppy show. That's right. Woo! No, sir, jockey was in the one here. One squad.
Trust nobody. Evil can exist anywhere.
Andreen's husband, Andy McDonald, told the deputy that when he woke up, he got their daughter Elena to school before reporting to Lackland Air Force Base, where he served as a cyber warfare analyst. Pulled to the scene, observed Andre purchasing a 9mm handgun and ammunition.
Pay attention to the man in an Ashes jacket. This footage shows him walking into a shop to purchase some terrifying items. He is the loving husband to a beautiful, strong, kind, yet calculating woman, Andreen McDonald. Their lives seemed all rosy until the unimaginable happened.
Well, it's finally over, and as predicted,
I did come in before he did.
right, Andreen did defeat me, and she is so excited. But I promised and delivered a defeat. Signing off Facebook.
I didn't have his phone number until after. Later on in that evening, she called and she said she's okay, but she can't talk and she'll talk to me after. And I said, are you okay? And she said, I just like my throat where he was joking and the scratches. And she sent me the picture right there.
A horrible event took place on March 1st, 2019, when millionaire business owner Andreen McDonald, who's known for her strict workout regimen, didn't show up for work.
Andreen McDonald had a very, very strict regimen. She followed it daily.
Nice, drop it. That a girl. Woo.
She would be at the gym at 5:30 in the morning, in the office by 8. On March 1st, they had no indication she would be late. She didn't show up for work.
However, this was truly disturbing to her employees. They went on to call the gym, which they believed to be her usual first stop in her morning routine.
They called the gym and found out she never showed up to the gym, which is like a religion to her.
Worst of all, they found out she never showed up at the gym either, which raised a red flag. What happened to the San Antonio businesswoman, wife, and mother?
After calling Andreen repeatedly, it's going to voicemail. You know, the anxiety starts setting in. Like, I start panicking. For Andreen to be missing is not possible.
In 2009, Andre met Andreen in Jamaica. Being 10 years younger than Andre McDonald, she moved to the United States with him, where they got married. However, Andre, who was in the Air Force at that time, was stationed in Florida. Nevertheless, as life got more interesting for them, a year later, Andre was sent to Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, where they had their daughter, Elena. As time went by, the narrative of their marriage changed.
The biggest issue for me were the fact that her phone was missing, her purse was still there, her keys were on the counter, and her vehicles were still there.
If her vehicle's there, her purse is there, her keys are there, if she's missing, is there a concern of an abduction?
Well, the deputies obviously didn't know what to think at this point.
Leading to the disappearance of Andreen. She was last seen on February 28th, 2019, sometime around midnight. Since then, her phone was turned off and she was never heard from again. Now, let's go back to where it all started. It all started in 2016, while Andre was out for a 6-month training, and Andreen, on the other hand, was out having the fun of her life with her ex-lover, Aubin Hall.
Aubin has always been that first love. It wasn't something Andreen got over emotionally.
When Andre got back home, he noticed something strange about Andre, but he couldn't tell what it was.
Andy was definitely suspicious of what it meant. He went and he did his own digging.
Andre couldn't take the wife's excesses anymore, so he decided to file for divorce. You know what they say about love, right? Andre couldn't stand being alone without Andreen, his sweetheart, and this led to their reconciliation. However, one would think this could be their perfect love rewritten, but just then and there, in a twist of event, everything would turn out even worse. When Andre found out that the tattoo on Andreen's hand was the very same one seen on Aubin Hall's body, he got so mad that they argued as they drove back home. Things started to get more complicated, and 13 days later, Andreen seemed to vanish without any trace. The next morning, a friend of hers, Carol Gonbar, received a disturbing call from one of Andreen's employees that she wasn't answering the phone and that Andreen didn't show up at work. On getting to the McDonald's home to seek answers, Carol Gonbar immediately noticed something was off and called Maureen Smith, Andreen's mother, who called the police to report Andreen missing. Going about his usual duty, the detective was faced with a horrifying sight.
One of my deputies had seen what they believed to be blood on the wall and possibly hair.
Here, I saw the burn pile. We found a zipper from Andreen's blouse.
It was Andreen's blouse.
Andre quickly came home when he learned his wife was missing and headed out to the hospital with the mind that his wife would be in the hospital.
On that tape, he comes in, you can see him asking for McDonald. And they tell him, there's somebody in room 3 named McDonald.
He arrives back to the house. What does he tell them?
He tells them that she's in the hospital.
There was some indication to him that she was there and injured to some extent.
Unfortunately, after a thorough investigation by the detectives, they found out that Andre had given them a false lead after they found out he purchased some dangerous items.
This is Andre McDonald coming into the Lowe's. He's going to purchase several items. You can see him with a basket here. You can see there's a shovel in the basket. Now he comes up here. There's 2 gas cans. There's a maul or a hatchet. Here's that axe.
Yes. What's at play here?
It appeared to us that now that his wife is missing, it pointed to the disposal of her body.
They decided to follow him, and when they did, they discovered a more shocking truth.
We were under the assumption that he was purchasing a gun to probably harm himself.
The officers were not prepared for any more surprises, so they moved over to the McDonald's home and they found...
There was a shovel, there was an axe.
An axe, there was like a hatchet kind of maul, there was trash bags, there were gloves, and a couple of gas cans.
But that was not all that was shocking.
Inside the garbage can in the house was a receipt from Lowe's that had been torn up.
They continued their search and uncovered what they call the most incriminating evidence of all.
We found a hammer and clothing in the garbage. The clothing that we found appeared to be Andre's clothing.
What's on the claw hammer that's of interest?
The lab determined that there was the presence of blood on the hammer, and the DNA that they obtained from that blood sample was from Andreen. We concluded that that hammer was probably used as the murder weapon.
This is significant.
Very significant. The evidence was pointing towards a murder.
This case had just gone from the case of a missing person to a more sinister one. But just one person came to mind, and you wouldn't believe who.
I saw that Andre was taken into custody. And I just collapsed. I know he loved Andreen. Why would he harm her?
Andre could not hurt Andreen. That's what I was saying, but who else?
For almost 4 years after his arrest, Andre McDonald refused to talk to the detectives, and he kept to himself while out of bond.
Andre's face told us there was no way in hell we were going to break him and make him tell us what had happened.
Helpless without a clue, detectives decided to get answers in another way.
Are asking anybody with any information on her whereabouts to give us a call at 210-335.
We thought he might have taken her here to a wooded area.
As you walk through here, what are you looking for?
You would look at tree branches that had been pushed away, something that was cut, fresh tire tracks.
How many miles did you cover?
It was hundreds of miles.
5 months later, McDonald's body was found, and Andre was charged with murder.
About 7:30 this evening, the Bexar County Sheriff's Office patrol deputies were dispatched to this location for a report of some human remains that were found.
What appeared to be a human skull in front of the cow skull.
That must have been a shock.
A shock, yes.
I was at a church praying for Andreen. I couldn't do anything. I broke down.
It hit us like a storm, because we still wasn't thinking like that.
Never. I never saw this coming.
It hurts. Every night before I go to my bed, I think about her.
Another challenge stared at the prosecutions. Despite the shreds of evidence posed in the case, it was difficult to tell how Andreen died.
Because Andreen's body was out in the elements in that field for all of those days, medical examiner's office was unable to specify what exactly caused Andreen's death.
And does that, Stephen, complicate your preparation?
No, it absolutely does. We say he caused her death, however, we don't know how.
If Andre murdered his wife, what do you believe was his motive?
I believe it was largely because he felt emasculated. She was such a rising star, had control of these businesses, and I think he was jealous of that.
However, one fateful Friday before the trial, Andreen's sister and mother got a phone call they had never imagined.
He gave the family for the first time details of what happened, according to him.
According to him, yes.
His mother and lawyers were also shocked to hear for the first time what really happened to Andreen.
He looked at me and he said, "Mom, I'm gonna tell you the truth." And he started to cry.
Was it shocking to you that he had done this?
Shocking's a good word for it, yeah. The entire context of the case changed.
Now that the truth is out and narratives have changed, Andre was ready to tell his story. The trial was set to begin on the 17th of January, 2023. There, Andre spilled his extraordinary story to the world.
That course, is that how computers interface with weapon systems?
Pretty much. It starts off by you just learning normal computer stuff, operating systems, network architecture and stuff like that. And then towards the end, it gets into the actual defensive tools.
And did Andreen visit you in Biloxi, Mississippi?
No, she did not.
What happened while you're there to your relationship?
So one day I was, I think it was on a weekend in between classes. I go to the laundromat to do laundry, and all of a sudden I get this strange text from Andreen saying, when I come home, not to come back to the house.
How did that make you feel?
Honestly, I was shocked because up to that point, we had no indications that there was any kind of issues. When I left the house in August, we were doing perfectly fine. The new location was going to have a grand opening in September. So all of a sudden, it just came from nowhere, so I was pretty shocked.
When you finished the course, where did you go?
So I went back home in San Antonio.
And when you got home, what did you find?
So when I got home, the relationship seemed to kind of change. Like before, up to when I left, we didn't have any issues. We didn't argue rarely. And then all of a sudden, she would get angry over all kinds of small petty stuff, without basically frustrating me. So during the divorce, I remember that when we had started the business at Bryn Mawr, my name was not on the account with Broadway Bank, which was a requirement at the time to get a construction loan from Broadway Bank. So I was thinking, wait a minute, I'm going through a divorce and only she has access to that account. It'd probably be wise if I could, get my name added to account so I could make sure that she wasn't doing any funny business.
Why did the police come to your house?
So that Saturday morning, we had a conversation about going to the bank so we could add my name to the account, because typically up until that point, she was the one that handled the paperwork. So if we had stuff relating to the business, she was the one that kept it in the safe. So in the morning, when it was time to go to the bank to get my name added, she started fussing over something. I didn't remember what it was. It was just some nonsense, but to me, it just seemed pretty obvious that she was trying to prevent me from getting added to the account. So we started arguing, but because I didn't want my daughter to, see us arguing, I decided to leave the house. And then when I came back to the house, there was a police car parked in front of the house.
The police, did that signify to you?
Basically, all that meant to me, pretty much that she was robbing me. Ray had the thought of splitting the business, charges into the room to confront me. So when she comes into the room, I turn around and she comes like right up in my face. So at that moment, she spits in my face. So at that point, I grabbed her, because she's like right in front of me, so I grabbed her head. I think we had like a clash of heads, and I think it opened up like a cut somewhere on her face. She's like throwing like some punches, so I'm trying to like duck down and like keep my face from getting hit with the blows. But I remember like grabbing her and like tripping her, and then she like falls, and that's when I kick her like twice. But the second kick, I think I heard like some type of wheezing, and then also like in the background, I could hear like some footsteps. I became like pretty frantic at that point because, she's dead on the floor.
You never thought?
I never thought about calling anybody to revive a dead person. My purpose at that point was simply to get her out of the house so that my 7-year-old daughter wouldn't see her mother laying on the floor dead. My plan was to hit the person that caused this whole circumstance.
You felt it was her fault, right?
It's absolutely her fault.
What did you do with the gasoline?
I poured it on her and then I used the lighter and set it on fire.
So then, if he burnt her body, why was the hammer filled with blood? Andre was so upset that Andreen has caused him a lot of trouble that he went back to the field where he had the burnt body. He waited for the flame, and then he did the most terrific thing ever.
I hit her in the face, the neck, and I just like hit her again as I was walking away.
Why that last blow?
As I was walking away?
Yes.
I guess I was still angry when I was walking away.
After his whole story, the jury had to make the biggest decision of all time.
Everything was said in the courtroom. All the evidence were there. He confessed on the stand what he did. They saw his demeanor. I don't know what was the problem.
This a case of homicide, or was Andre only acting in self-defense?
So the way that I have phrased her cause of death is homicidal violence, including blunt force trauma.
After much deliberation among the jurors, it was time for the judge to give a verdict.
Donald, please stand with your counsel. To the count of murder charged in the indictment, the jury finds the defendant not guilty of the offense of murder, as charged in the indictment, and guilty of the offense of manslaughter.
But this verdict didn't seem to go down well for some.
However, the jury rejected his self-defense argument and held him accountable for at least something.
Despite how I believe that this is a self-defense case, I do respect the outcome.
He's there to tell his story. He's there to make up whatever he wants to make up. She can't do that because he took that away from her.
It's 4 years. It took him 4 years for him to recognize that he did what he did. And then all of a sudden, he's reaching out to us to let us think that he's been responsible. He didn't mean anything. He is lying. All a lies. It's all a lie.
I did present Mr. Anderson with a gift. I asked my deputy to remove the handcuffs from Andre as they put him back into the cell, and I presented those cuffs to Mr. Anderson. I wanted them to feel some sort of connection to at least sending him away to prison.
I want to tell you that we really appreciate it. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Andreen, a strong, successful woman, will be missed, especially her sister and mom. But Andreen's daughter brought closure to the hearts of the shattered family.
Very much. Most times when I think about her, it's like I feel like giving up.
Blessed to have each other to take us through this sad journey. When I'm weak, my mom is strong. When my mom is weak, I am strong.
We have to be strong for Elena. Elena more than I heard for everyone. No child should ever have to go through what she went through.